Welcome to the That's Where I'm At podcast. I'm Laura, happily divorced after spending years with a narcissist. I believe keeping secrets will make you sick and that they always come to light in the end. As women, we're often told to be quiet, don't share your story, don't talk about the things we go through. It's making women sick, sad, and suicidal. We don't have to be on the other side to share our story. This show is for the women still in the middle of the mess, but showing up bravely as they heal. It's time to share these stories with each other so we can learn, grow, and heal together. I'm Laura, and that's where I'm at. Please take note that this episode may contain subjects that may be triggering to certain listeners. Please take care when listening today. Hi guys, it's Laura. I am so excited. It's the 1-year anniversary of That's Where I'm At podcast, and I'm here to give you an update on what's been going on in this last year. Thank you so much for everyone who has been supporting my journey. I am so excited to give you guys an update and what's next for the podcast. So about a year ago, I started the podcast. And it really came out of this need to find a community of women who were just like me, who were coming out of narcissistic abuse, but couldn't find people who were talking about it. It was so strange to me that people weren't talking about abuse because I didn't want anyone else to go through this. And so this need came out of it to talk to other people who were going through things that maybe society said you shouldn't be talking about them. And so I started talking about them. But before I did that, when I found out about my ex-husband's betrayal, I decided to be petty and get on social media and make some petty videos. And that's where I started to find my community, not just from people enjoying me being petty, because I guess there's a time and a place for that. That's not what I was thinking. What was going on was that I was actually talking about things that people usually don't talk about. And so that's why it was important for me to start doing those videos. It really felt good at that time, that's for sure. So from that, using my voice in that way, because when you come out of abuse, you haven't been using your voice. You've probably been being controlled, told not to talk about things, told not to say things. By the end of my marriage, I was very, very quiet. So I found this deep need to use my voice. And as I was doing healing, I found that really I haven't used my voice the way I wanted to all of my life. So when I started my podcast, I was in the middle of a recording one day or journaling or something. And I said, did I just start a podcast because no one ever listened to me? And yes, that's what happened. But it has been so amazing to find this community of women, because that's who my focus is. But it's been amazing to find this community of women who I can talk to about this and who can share their story on my podcast. So when I first started the podcast, it was about all subjects that people do not talk about in society. Maybe people are told not to talk about it. Grief and family members passing away and how people are grieving and what's the normal length of time and all these things, and leaving an abusive marriage, divorce in general, health challenges. And as I started to have this safe space for people to talk, I found that people really wanted to talk about them leaving their abusive marriage. And so it really has become where I speak about narcissism on my show and also on other podcasts. That is what I'm doing now, and really focusing on narcissistic abuse awareness and recovery to help others heal, to help other women like me who thought they were the only one, who were so ashamed of where they were in their life, that they had left their marriage, that they maybe felt like a failure for having to get a divorce. These are all the things that I was feeling. So I started to do that, and I've had 31 episodes, countless reels, social media followers, podcast downloads. YouTube videos. It's just been a wild ride of sharing my story, but also giving other people a safe place to talk about their story. It has been so enlightening. It's really given me a lot of freedom, and I think it's helped a lot of people heal from the pain they've been feeling and from feeling alone, because that's really what I wanted to do. And it's a great way for me to get the word out on narcissistic abuse, how narcissists fool others into believing them, and get people to not believe you, but get them to get others to believe only their side of the story, and how you can heal from all of this trauma. So it's been an amazing ride. It doesn't sound like it would be something fun to talk about, but I have to tell you, it's been amazing because I love calling out abusers and saying these are their tricks and this is how they get away with it. I love that I have cracked the code and that I want to share it with you. So, one of the questions that I often get asked is, does your ex know what you're doing? Well, one of the things I said from the beginning was I was not going to use his name because I always say, insert your narcissist here, where I talk about my ex. I do not know if my ex knows, and I do not care because this is how I feel about abusers. If you don't want people to talk about what you did, you should have been a little nicer. And one of the things that people say is that you are living in the past if you talk about what happened to you. That is not true. You are not living in the past when you are telling your story. You are talking about your past to be able to tell your story to then move forward. Saying that we're living in the past or that we're always bringing up the past is really terms that abusers will use to keep you quiet. And so I have learned that you're allowed to tell your story. You're allowed to talk about your past. How many of us have talked about the things we enjoyed doing in our childhood or maybe in high school? I was a class president or whatever, right? We are allowed to talk about our past to help us move forward and heal for the future. So I want to encourage you on that to always share your story because there's somebody out there who may need your story. And so all that to say, I do not know if my ex knows, and it's not my problem if he does. So one of the things I started doing was journaling. Journaling has been really imperative for my healing. I love writing down my thoughts and hopes and dreams and prayers and trying to figure out what am I feeling and what am I thinking and all these things. You know, I started back when I was keeping a diary when I was 10 years old, and it's always been something I've enjoyed doing. So I started creating journals and putting those on the big A, and I've enjoyed using them to encourage others on their journey to journaling because it's so important and has really helped me. That's not the only thing I've done in my healing, but that was a really important one. And then the other thing that I've done is I've written a couple of books. The first one was There Is Hope, 52 Keys to Healing After Divorce. So I will give you 52 ideas for things you can do to heal after divorce. And then my newest book is Married to a quote unquote nice guy, Getting Over Narcissistic Abuse. And they're both available on the Big A. Everything's available on the Big A. I took my journal entries and I started talking about what was I feeling? How was I healing? What are my thoughts during these journal entries? So I took the time when right before we got divorced and I wrote out my journal entries and then I told you guys what was going on so that you can understand what abusers do to you and how you can heal and recover from it. And I hope it really encourages you and helps you feel like you are not alone if you are on this narcissistic abuse recovery journey like I was. So, what's next for me with my podcast is I'm going to continue having guests on my podcasts every week and talking about narcissistic abuse recovery, talking to coaches, therapists, holistic healers, everyday people. And I usually just talk to women. That is my main focus. You know, everyday women who are healing from this abuse and maybe even physical abuse, so that you can have hope and healing on the other side as well. And I hope that you can get some encouraging ideas on how to heal from this abuse. So the next thing I'm going to do is I have a collaborative book coming out, and then I also will be turning my book into an audio book because I know a lot of people enjoy that. Just want you to be encouraged by that. And if that's an easier way for you to listen, then or read the book, then I want to do that. And then I also am going to be speaking on stages to help others, really heal from this, to know they're not alone. That is always my focus, to help others find a community so that they know they're not alone and that they can heal from this. So, how can you keep supporting the podcast and all these efforts? Every time you leave an Apple, Spotify, Amazon review, it's so helpful. Every time you like, comment, share on social media, it's so important. If you share this information with others, it's so important to let podcast land know that you love me and that you want me to keep doing this work. Also, there's an Amazon storefront with books and journals under my name where I have tons of stuff for you guys, tons of resources for you guys. I've also included in my Amazon store books that I've really enjoyed from some of my friends and just from some other authors about narcissistic abuse recovery. And the last thing is that I have a private Facebook group for even more support. It's called Married to a Nice Guy. And I want you guys to come on over, have a safe place to talk about what has happened to you or what is happening to you. I want this to be a safe place. I'm so excited to continue this work, to keep talking to you guys, and to keep sharing what I learn about narcissists and recovery. So thank you so much for this 1 year of support. I'm so thankful for you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me, loving on me, giving me all those downloads. You guys have made me a top 5% podcast. I'm unbelievably thrilled about that. I'm just so thankful for all of that. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting me. And I love you guys, and I'm always here for you. Please connect with me in one of the ways on socials, on the podcast platforms, anywhere you can find me. That's where I'm at, podcast.com. Just look for me and connect with me, and let's see if we can't continue this amazing work. I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for being here. And don't forget, your voice matters. Thank you for joining me today on the That's Where I'm At podcast. Did the story today resonate with you? Do you think others would benefit from hearing the stories we are telling? Please go to Apple or Spotify right now to leave a review so everyone in podcast land will know you love the show. We want to continue sharing stories of hope and healing. I'll be back next time. I'll talk to you then.